Hi guys, welcome to Intent. I'm your host Ronlyn, and today I have Theo Makhathini with us. She is the founder of the Dream Basket South Africa, which is about curating intentional experiences. So she's done vision boards, fun days, boat cruises, you name it. So it's just all about curating intentional experiences. And today's topic is going to be speaking about entrepreneurship. So Theo is a mom. So she's going to be taking us through her motherhood journey and how it has also inspired her new, I don't want to say new, but her shift from corporate to being an entrepreneur. Hi Theo.
Hi, Ronlyn. How are you?
I'm good in you.
I'm good. I forgot to add the pe 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 when you were introducing me. Pe 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 pe. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Just the flu. So yeah.
Yeah.
So to our listeners, yeah, they might just hear a cough here or there, or they can also hear my voice isn't the way it usually is. But we persevere through it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
we
Yes. Yes.
do. So as an icebreaker, so sometimes I start with an icebreaker, just depends.
Mhm.
How would your kids describe you as a mom? One sentence.
Fun, strict, colorful.
Mm,
Yeah, I think colorful and very expressionate. I think I'm very expressive as a mom, but
mm,
definitely colorful, but strict. I think I'm very strict, but I've heard that a few times around my nieces and my nephews that I'm the most fun, but I'm also the most strictest.
mm.
Yeah.
But it's a good balance.
I love it. I'm so proud. In fact, when I heard that, I was very proud because I think I grew up with my mom being very strict, understandably so. She was raising two girls and she was a single parent. So she was always busy, you know. So I don't take away from that. I respect that a lot. But if I'm being described as strict like my mom, which is great, but there's also an element of fun. There's also an element of colorful. There's always an element of trying something new. Then I'm doing something right. Then it's more than just right. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Yeah, we need a balance in life. That
Yeah.
is true. So has your
I
mom been a big inspiration in terms of the mother that you are today?
absolutely. There's things that I want to do exactly like my mother. Then there's things
Mm,
that I now see how I can do it differently. And like I said, I think my mom worked very hard to raise two daughters as a single parent that was supporting the household, her parents, and all of that stuff. So she worked very, very hard, and I respect her so much more that I'm a mom. I respect her so much more than now that I'm a mother. But there's also things that
mm,
she did that now that I'm a mother, I can see that I need to do differently. I think one of the things that I was telling her about was I realize now how much more I need to listen. You know, my mom was strict, but she didn't always sit down and listen. You know, so as a
mm,
parent, I'm hoping that my children can say that I listen a bit more than I act. So what happened at school? Why did you get into trouble? Why did you not complete this task? That's the parent that I want to be now, you know? Yeah, listen a little
mm,
bit more. Listen a little bit more. Have, I suppose also, and I don't blame my mom for this one, but make a little bit more time. My mom worked all of the time. She had different jobs. And yeah, I respect her so much more now because I understand why my mom had 3 or 4 jobs, you know?
I can definitely relate in terms of actually, I don't want to say putting myself in my mom's shoes, but actually understanding why she was the way she was in terms of her mothering. My mom was also very strict, and it's just, they just want the best for us. And also,
Yeah.
as a female, they don't want us to be consumed by the world.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be quite strict. And also, as you're saying, be present, which a lot of our moms weren't because, they had to work. Most of them were working a lot. So that's also one of the things that I'm learning is to be present and patient while being present. because we can
Yes.
be present and there's a time limit, but just to be patient and be in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of you transitioning from corporate to being more flexible, being an entrepreneur, was that also inspired by your mom, by the fact that, she worked a lot and she didn't really have that flexibility that now you may have?
No, not at all. I was inspired. In fact, I I was inspired by my immediate circle. I think the people that I was surrounded by, a lot of them had ventured into entrepreneurship, which
Mm,
for me felt like a medium of expression. These people are finding out a little bit more about their dreams, you know
mm,
so for me it was immediately my network, it was my partner at the time, it was my friends, it was my social circle. So they started being entrepreneurs, and then I ended up being the black sheep that worked corporate every day. So that was one of the first times where I thought, okay, this is probably going to change, because the people that I live with are able to tell me a little bit more about their interests. I am trying out golf. I am trying out this activity to see if I can make money this way. I am going to this location because someone has called me out to come and try out this thing. So I thought, if I spend 60 years of my life in corporate full time anyway, I might never really know my voice and what Theo likes. For Theo, outside of the boardroom,
mm,
of course, in the boardroom, I love money. I love winning deals. I love making targets and all of that stuff. But who am I outside of corporate? So that was definitely the first thing that I think for me made it clear. I remember the last corporate job that I had. I walked into that interview and I stood outside the building and I thought, God, I am going to get this job, and please make sure that this is the last corporate job that I have. I'm giving myself exactly 5 years, or give me 5 years to learn everything that I need to learn here. But when the time comes, please give me space and ability to be able to leave so that I can go and learn about myself outside of corporate. And that's exactly what happened. 5 years, when I checked, it was exactly 5 years to the date that I handed in my resignation. So that was the
mm,
first, that was the first influence into entrepreneurship. If I can continue, the second was definitely COVID. By the time the fifth year
mm.
struck, it was mid COVID, and I thought, this is it. This is aligning to my prayers. It might not look like what I prayed for, but if I don't decide to follow my heart right now during COVID, when people are losing their lives, I might never ever get another opportunity to be brave, because COVID literally gave everybody the same playing platform, as it were. So if I don't do this
Yeah.
now, one, it's 5 years, two, it's COVID, I might never ever get the opportunity. So I resigned mid COVID.
Mm.
Yep.
So it was basically the power of association, your immediate circle. I find that that's very powerful because a lot of people, they underestimate the power of association. The people that that we surround ourselves with. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. So
Mhm.
by default, you were gonna end up an entrepreneur, or you were gonna end up moving circles, which I don't think you would have wanted to move circles. So it is basically your destiny, this journey that you've been on in terms of becoming an entrepreneur, by the way it sounds.
Yeah,
In
I
terms of how it started
agree.
out, and then when COVID hit, you just went with it to say, you know what, this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
You were gonna say?
I'm sorry. I'm so excited that I'm listening and I'm like, oh, yes, 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 yes. You're hearing me. You're feeling me. So please excuse me when I interrupted you. And you're absolutely right. I heard someone say that entrepreneurship becomes a calling, or it is a
Mm,
calling. And that's why it gets really difficult. But then when you sit with it, you understand, like how you're saying power of association, and the fact that I called it out and I said, God, I need you to remove me from the space in exactly 5 years, because I felt like I was being called to do more, to discover more, to find out more. So it is destiny. I feel like it is destiny. And even when I'm being asked, like I get asked all the time, why don't you consider going back? I mean, things are so tough. It just does not seem like an option, like the full time. I'm not saying I won't do it. I don't even know, but it just doesn't seem like an option to the journey or the path that God is taking me down on.
And not everyone will understand that. That's why it's very important for us as individuals to follow first, to identify what fulfills us, whether it's making money, whether it's feeling good physically, emotionally, or holistically. We always aim for holistically. And that's how we'll know if it's a calling or not. Just like with you, in terms of, people asking you whether you want to go back to corporate, and you just feeling like, even though circumstances are tight in South Africa, you just like, no, God will see a way through it all. And I feel like
Mm,
people just need to focus on the gifts God has given them, and try to identify their calling. We all have different purposes on earth, and they're not all meant to be understood by everyone, as long as you
yeah,
understand it and you follow it through.
yeah,
I
it's
also
beautiful.
find something, thank you. I also find something very powerful about what you said in terms of how your journey started, in terms of your network, and how in terms of you deciding whether you're going to stay in corporate or not. It was about who are you outside of your work.
Yes.
Has this journey also helped you in terms of you being a mom? Who are you outside of being a mom, outside of being a friend, outside of being a service to others? Because as women, we kind of groomed to be a service to others.
Oh,
So has that influenced you as a person? You know, in terms of fulfilling yourself and not always being a giver. Who are you outside of being a giver? Has that influenced you in that way?
yeah. Oh, wow. You are mentioning something that I believe that I am continuously learning about myself. I think even a
Mm,
year ago or maybe 6 months ago, I thought I've learned so much about who I am outside of everything and all of my titles. But I believe that every
mm,
single day I'm learning different aspects of myself. So even when I do affirmations, even when I do my affirmations, even when I teach my son his affirmations or have him do his affirmations, I intentionally have him say, I love myself first. So I feel like in the journey that I am as a parent, as a mom, as a daughter, as a leader, as a friend, I am continuously learning, especially to selfishly discover and learn and unearth more about myself. So I feel like that's continuous on my side, definitely more
mm,
continuous my side. And every day it looks different. Every day it requires a different version of myself. Because every day I feel like I'm someone new or someone different, but I think that's continuous, but definitely on the path of learning to deconstruct what has been constructed, as it were. But every day I am intentionally having to stand in the mirror and choose myself and remind
mm,
myself of self and remind myself to not, like with some of the affirmations I tell my son is be kind but take no nonsense. So even as an
mm,
empath, I'm learning that there's times where I've just given too much, but now I'm like, okay, you need to reel it in. And what does that look like? So it gets a little bit
mm,
lonely, definitely fulfilling. Definitely fulfilling.
mm. And the reason why I'm asking is because a lot of, not only women, but I'm going to speak to women because I am one, struggle with that. finding out who are they outside of other
Mm.
people, outside of the dependents, because often we find or we look for our purpose in other people, whether it's our kids, whether it's our partners, whether it's our parents or siblings or um, colleagues, but we're always looking, for ourselves in
Mm.
other people. What can we offer? So it's something that I'm also working on. Most of us are working on. It's an ongoing process. I don't believe it's like a destination here. Oh my God, this is
Yeah.
exactly who I am. And
Mm.
you're not gonna go back and forth. Um, yeah, it's an ongoing thing. That's why, as you spoke about in terms of, your calling and following that through, it's very important. And it's not it's not an easy journey. It's just like, for example, like healing. It's the same journey where you'll go back and forth, where you'll be like, you know what, I think I must just go back to corporate. Or I think, this is not working out for me. Let me just shut down the whole business. But it's
Mm.
about persevering through it and understanding your why. Why did you start in the beginning and why you need to follow it through. And being intentional about it, as the Dream Basket is about curating intentional experiences. In terms of the Dream Basket, um, what was your inspiration for creating the Dream Basket South Africa and specifically what it stands for?
Okay. I love that. So I created the Dream Basket when I was still in corporate, and it is called the Dream Basket South Africa because I thought I would create a medium of expression for my dreams, right? I believe
Mm,
that we are created, call it a basket of dreams. So God decides, Ronlin, you are going to come to this world and I'm going to give you a basket of dreams. And what you decide to pick from the basket is your decision. Whether you decide to go the corporate route, whether you dig deep into the basket and you take whatever you want to chase, I have already given you all that you need. So that's the premise of the name, is that God gives us all of these dreams that we need to pick from our basket what we're going to pursue. So I remember watching, I think a video by Oprah, and she says, if you find what you love, you are never going to have to work another day in your life. And I thought, okay,
mm,
I am going to use the Dream Basket to do every single thing that I love, and I'm going to get paid for it because it's a company. And whilst I'm doing it, I'm going to invite other people to join me so that I can eat for free. I can travel for free and I can just get
mm,
paid for my passions, just like Oprah's doing. So I started selling
mm,
kitchenware. I started selling kitchenware, and then to sell kitchenware, I used to cook food, and then I got more people wanting to buy the food with the kitchenware. And then I started selling the food and having experiences where I invited people to come over and I'd cook and they'd buy and we'd travel. So that's literally what my dreams were at the time: kitchenware, food, and travel. And then fast forward to COVID, even though I still did the things especially during COVID, I thought I still want to do the experiences. I still want to meet people and create intentional spaces of meeting people. But now I want it to be a little bit more deeper. Now I'm not just
mm,
meeting people and we're talking just about food. Now I'm being intentional because, one, I'm creating spaces where we can connect. I found that there was a lot of events happening. There was a lot of gigs. There was a lot of clubbing or whatever the case is, but there was not a lot of spaces where people would sit and network and Ronlin, meet Theo. And this is what Theo does. What do you do? Maybe you can connect with Theo, connect with Theo over food, over conversation, over 30 seconds, over and have legitimate connections, outside of social media, because we were spending our lives on Facebook, on Instagram, but we were not really meeting people, people meeting people. So the Dream Basket is, we went from creating experiences to creating intentional experiences where we are suddenly talking about our goals. We are talking about our dreams. We are reflecting. we are speaking about wellness. There wasn't spaces where people were talking about, are you okay? You know, are you
Mm.
okay? Are you okay as a mom? Are you okay as a single mom? Are you okay as a single dad? Are you okay working 9 to 5, 2 jobs during the weekend? Are you okay? So I created those spaces where I am inviting you to come out, and we are talking about your dreams on a vision board. We are talking about just breathe. Are you breathing well? What do you need? I know a life coach that comes to my event, for example. I've got a life coach that comes out because I discovered that I need to speak to someone that can maybe guide me. I've got friends that are psychologists, you know? So it became more intentional in that regard.
Okay. I love how you built on. You started from a certain point where you were just selling food, just conversation, and then you went deeper. I think it also speaks to the meaning of the dream basket. Like the analogy you gave in the beginning, where you said God gives you all of these gifts in a basket, and it depends how deep you go in terms of discovering those gifts. So I think
Mm.
just how you built up the business also speaks to that in terms of you diving deeper. And in terms of your journey, on you building it up, going deeper, is it what you expected?
I want to say absolutely. I am
Mhm.
probably at personally, so finances aside, because that's another conversation on its own. My
Yeah.
finances in terms of the business need to catch up with I want to say the work and the work that is happening within the business. But in terms of everything that I expected, I am so proud of the work that I'm doing for myself, especially internally, because it starts with self.
Mm.
And then with the work that I'm doing in my community. I think I had a friend of mine. This friend of mine has known me, I think, since we were in, it was a preschool at creche, right? She literally, we were having a conversation, and she says, I look at your posts and I look at the stuff that you're doing, and you look so happy. And
Mm.
that made me so happy because I am legitimately, I am happy doing what I am doing because it is what I reckon is my purpose. I am happy with
Mm.
the, yeah, I'm happy with what I'm doing in the community, for example. I'm happy that I'm hosting Vision Board for Teens. I'm happy that I got feedback last week from a 65-year-old woman who told me that this is the first time in her adulthood that she's ever done a vision board because of watching my posts talk about the
Oh.
impact of having a vision board, you know? So those are
Mm.
little impact stories that make me feel like I am on the right path with the work that I'm doing. The thing that I need to now, that needs to catch up, and I pray about it all the time, especially in the entrepreneurship journey, is now
Mm.
the finances. My gosh, that has been tricky, but I trust that it
Mm.
will all come together. Like that is the one thing I miss about corporate. And I suppose that is the one thing that has kept people in corporate longer than some people. Because not everybody, I think not everybody has ambitions of being an entrepreneur or being self-employed and I've learned to respect that and I've learned to understand that. But I also do now understand why some people are kept in corporate longer than they desire because of the comfort that comes with the corporate salary. So that's the
Mm.
only thing really. That and year-end parties and team buildings. Those are like the only three things that I really think about when I think about corporate. Otherwise, I'm good I'm good in my stomach. Like at the pit of my stomach, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Which feels good.
Yes, yes. I can hear it's coming through. No, definitely in terms of the entrepreneurship financial part. Um, yeah, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, it's an up and down um, journey in terms of their, but specifically like being a parent and being a mom. how do you handle that? Like in a realistic way, everyone can be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to follow my passion. I'm going to follow my calling, my purpose. But how are we handling it realistically in the economy? We have a child that we need to see to, we need to see to ourselves, there's certain bills that need to be paid. So
Mm.
realistically, how does that look for a mom?
Yo,
Like what support
realistically,
structures need to be put in place?
yeah,
Mm,
realistically, it is probably more challenging to do this thing that I'm doing as a mom for both myself, for my child, and I'm guessing for my immediate network of support, right? My support system.
mm,
Um, Look, my son does not currently go to the school that I would have desired him to go to, because then I am not financially where I would like to be, which means that um, he's not attending the school that I desire. He's probably not traveling as much as I thought he would have been traveling right now, right? He hasn't started the swimming lessons that I thought he was going to start by 3 months, for example. So that has
mm,
been the biggest challenge, I think, for everybody, including myself, is that my son is not living the life that I thought he was going to live, and the life that he would have led or lived had I been in corporate. That's a no-brainer, right?
yeah.
However, and this also includes my mom. I think when I was still in corporate, things were a little bit easier. I get a lot of my support from my mom now, whereas when I was in corporate, it was the other way around. I probably booked my mom's first flight. I probably booked my mom on the first, on a few of the first that I did with my mom when I was still in corporate. But now I'm finding myself having to lean in on my mom and my sister a little bit more than I ever did in corporate. So that's very challenging. But
Mm,
especially where my son is and where my mom is concerned, fortunately for me, my immediate circle understands maybe what drives me. So I'm very blessed and very fortunate. It's not, I'm sure they get frustrated with me supporting me, especially in this economy. Can you imagine? But with my son, also with my son, I feel like as a child of a person who has been tasked to play a particular role, it is, I don't want to call it a burden, but it is both his blessing and his understanding to carry, you know? So he comes into a world, and this is part of me explaining to him, and that's why I think that's where I try and I find a balance where I can, typically I think if my son wanted like a Burger King, and all of those things, if I don't have the money now, I sit him down and I say, look, we're going to have to reach a compromise. And the compromise is we're going to have to build a burger at home. I'm going to buy the ingredients. I'm going to put on that Netflix and chill for the movie that we can't go and watch this weekend at the movies, but we're going to make our own
mm,
burger. What are we going to make as a relish? But that's the sacrifice that we're going to have to make. But I think it comes with the understanding and the explanation that some of the things that I can do, you are going to get,
mm,
but the things that I'm not able to do the way I would have imagined, you're going to know that you're going to have to learn to build our own burger at home because we can't get Burger King this. So I don't want to call it a burden, but I think that the children that have parents like us, um, they come into a different understanding because my son understands the purpose that I am leading. My son comes to some of my experiences, he comes to some of my experiences. I give him the feedback and I'm like, listen to what this woman said, or listen to what this teen said when I asked them about their dreams. Like, so I get him involved into the work that I'm doing so that he understands, because I do hope that the work that I'm doing and the legacy that I'm building is something that he is not forced into, but then he understands. So I'll give you an example. We were watching a movie, Annie, right? I downloaded both Annies, the old version of the Annie, the Orphan and then the Annie that has Jamie Foxx. And one of there was a question where Annie had asked her supposed parents, what do you collect? You know, do you collect ashtrays, stamps, or whatever? What do you collect as a parent? And I asked my son, I'm like, if someone asked you what I collect, what does your mom collect? And he's like, no, that's easy. She's in the business of collecting and helping people with their dreams, you know?
Oh,
And that touched me because I don't collect, I mean, I collect notes, but my son, a 7-year-old, understands that I am in the business of helping other people reach their dreams. And that's what I do. So I think the key is bringing him along in the journey, because it's not my journey alone, and it's our journey. It's my journey with my mom and my sister, is that this is the purpose and this is what my calling is. I feel like God wants me to create these spaces where I get teens in my area, or teens in Johannesburg, or in the Eastern Cape, or wherever I am in Rustenburg, where I give people, the teens, adults, women, mothers, whatever, I give them the space to talk about their dreams. And if my son can understand, then we are moving in the right path. That comes with sacrifices.
that is very true. And often when you're the first to do something, like for instance with the dream basket, you don't immediately reap the reward. So you are
Mm.
passing it down to your son, who will reap the rewards 10 times over. And you're teaching
Amen.
him very valuable lessons. Even, for example, the example you gave about not being able to, buy a burger, go to Burger King or whichever restaurant, and building a burger at home. You're teaching him the values and the responsibilities of having a business, rebuilding from scratch. But the
Mm.
benefits of building from scratch is knowing the ingredients, knowing the hard work that goes into it. So you're teaching very valuable lessons that can't be taught by him not actually being there and experiencing it with you. Like for example, going to the events with you. So it, as you said, it's a burden and a blessing, but long term, it can be definitely a blessing because you're also giving him freedom of choice, where he can decide, okay, he feels like this is his calling, he needs to, dig deeper, or he can just stay surface level if that's what he wants. So you're giving him the freedom of choice to know that he can go into corporate, he can go into entrepreneurship, whichever field he wants to go into.
Yeah.
You're opening that door for him, which a lot of
Yeah.
parents don't do, or either they can't afford to do, or whatever reason it is. But our life path is all different, so we also have to think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I pray, and yeah, I hope I give him best of both. Like you said, I want him to come into, I mean, when the business grows, I obviously want us to be comfortable. But with that being said,
Mm,
I still want him to finish school. I want him to get good grades. I want him to go to varsity so he can learn to also
mm,
appreciate running the business, right? I want him to maybe
yeah,
go and work 1 year or 2 years somewhere else so that you can see how, because those are some of the benefits that we also got from having worked corporate, is
mm,
you get to learn who's doing what, how is it being done, how was it done, how's this employer treating people. There's been employers that have taught us culture. I've learned so much about culture. I've learned so much
yeah,
about fairness. I've learned so much about, heck, commuting to work in the cold, before buying a car. So yeah,
mm,
we need to be all round good model citizens, I suppose, in business, in business.
yes, because it also contributes to your personal growth, which
Mm,
filters through every area of your life. So yeah, it's very important, even if you wanna start your own business or fulfill your calling, to also experience other avenues. Not to say you're going to stay there longer than need be, just like with you, where you gave yourself a 5-year period and you stuck to that plan. And I think for a lot of us, it's sticking to the plan, and having faith that sticking to the plan is going to, work in our favor. which goes back to, just having faith and knowing that whatever decision you're making is putting you on the right path. But of course, there will be signs, to say, no, you're on the right track. Just like what you were saying in terms of personal expectations where you feel fulfilled, but not all areas are fulfilled. For example, the
Mm.
financial space. Um, so there has to be a start somewhere where you'll feel like, you know what, no, the engine is starting to run. It's not running the way I want it to run, but it's moving.
Yeah.
So it's just about getting it to where you want it to be. But you have to keep it moving. So you have to persevere through it all.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
appreciate the honesty in terms of, the realistic expectations as a parent, as a mom, of what it would look like or what it does look like to be an entrepreneur. The load is very heavy, especially for, us women, where, we are superwoman. We do it all. And just knowing that we need to take a step back sometimes and, evaluate and maybe change things here and there,
Mm.
and knowing how to go about it. So being realistic about business. In terms of being an entrepreneur, is this what you expected before you got into it? Like holistically, is this what you expected in terms of the challenges, in terms of the positivity? Is this exactly what you expected, or your
I want to say,
understanding of it?
it is more challenging than I anticipated. Yeah, it's
Mm,
more challenging than I anticipated. I thought when I left corporate, I had a backup plan and I had a backup of a backup plan, you know. I thought my support structure at the time, or the plan, was aligned, with regards to this is how this is supposed to go. I'll probably have these funds until this part, and then these savings are
yes.
supposed, yeah, I thought everything
Mm,
was gonna run, and then sure, and then life happens. So I would say that it is definitely more challenging than I anticipated. It's also been more testing than I anticipated, I think I look at the DJ Smooth. I think he comes to mind, but I look at some of the entrepreneurs that I used to look at when I was younger, maybe when I was in corporate, or I'd listen to some of the stories, like how Theo Baloyi, for example, of Ipatu, was selling shoes from his car, right? And then I think there was a
mm,
story on Busi Temagwayo and how he lived in his car maybe for a little bit. And you hear stories like that, and how DJ Smooth was promoting his stuff. It was like promoting his brand and on the road, And I used to hear
mm,
stories like that. And some of the stories I thought, come on, that's exaggerated. Surely that's exaggerated. What do you mean you almost didn't have a house? What do you mean you lost friendships? What do you mean, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? And then you wake up and you're like, it's happening to me. And yeah, so it is definitely more challenging. Like if you want to leave and run your own business, especially full time, and you are passionate, please just I don't even want to scare you. And this is why maybe you expect the worst, but this is why you need to be 1,000% sure about what it is you are. I don't want to say what it is that you want to do, because my business has changed so much in the past. I think it's been 9 years now, 10 years. But what it is, what's your why? What's the impact? What do you want to do? Because that drives you is going to be that keeps you up. It's going to it's stuff like that. Like I remember I sit down and I'm like, okay, I have X amount in my bank account, and I get calls. Like I got a call from someone offering me to come to bring my CV because there's a position that's opened. But I had to tell them that it does not align with who I am. It doesn't align with my goals. It doesn't align with my vision. It doesn't align with my plan. yes, the money is great, but it speaks nothing to what I want to do. So if I go and I take this particular position, it's gonna probably drown me, because by the time I left corporate, I legitimately felt like I couldn't breathe. And I legitimately felt like I can no longer breathe and I need to move, because if I don't move from the space, I'm gonna perish. So those are the things that you need to remember when you decide to take the big jump, especially if it's full time. Please get your ducks in a row, but don't let that stop you, because I'm doing stuff on the side. I'm helping out friends in their businesses. I'm handing out flyers for this friend, because as my business is generating money, as I'm submitting my proposals, as I am putting out the proposals at night, I'm still helping out my friends who need whatever, a waitress once in a while. So I'm also doing all of these other things to make sure that the goal and the dream that I'm chasing is exactly what I want. So know your why, know what's your purpose, have that thing that's gonna push you when the calls start coming in. But why are you not applying for this job? Because then that's going to be, what do they call it? Your North Star. Know what it is that you need to do. So mine for me right now is unwavering, almost pretty clear. I am brought here to make an impact. Whether the impact, it's purposeful, it's intentional. I like to, and when you're with people and they're like, oh my gosh, you make me feel so good, or your aura or the energy. So part of the work that I am doing translates to how I want people to feel around me, to feel when they engage with my brand. So make sure that you are clear with your why. Make sure you know what your purpose is. And if it's your calling, make sure you know what it is, because sometimes it's all you're going to be holding on to when you are making that DIY burger at home, when you are eating that bread, sonner, that is going to be the one thing that might keep you going.
Embodying your brand.
Yeah.
Embodying your brand.
And it's,
And what is your life hack that you've implemented, that you live by through all the challenges in the past 10 years, all the ups and downs? Your life hack.
I want to say that I generally dream boldly. Like I write down these big, big dreams for myself. I can't tell you how many times I have done speeches in the bathroom, looking at myself in the mirror for all of the awards that I'm anticipating in my head anyway. I sort of have an idea of what my speeches are going to sound like. So I dream very big dreams. I'll tell you now, in my mind, I can tell you, if you ask me what my properties look like, the ones that I don't have yet, I will tell you where they are. I will tell you what furniture is almost going into which rooms. I can tell you what fruit trees I have planted in which home, which coast, So I would say dream big dreams, but also have an action plan as to how you are planning on getting there. And that's why now I do vision maps and vision boards with the dream basket, because it stems from conversations like that. Is, if I want to have a home, e.g. in the wild coast, what do I need to do today as Theo Makhathini today that will make sure that I have that home in 5 years and 10 years? It means I need to send out those proposals. It means I need to knock on those doors. It means I need to collaborate. It means I need to help friends that will probably pay me. It means I need to knock and call on those mentors. So I find diaries of things that I wrote down years ago, and I try and go back to them, right? So I would say that has been a hack, is to continuously evaluate, where do I want to go, as big and as bold. And that's why maybe it's the basket, because God never said, listen, I'm going to give you maybe dreams that are a handful, And I always say this, even when I'm standing in front of the youth, is what if God just said, as big as you can imagine, as wild as it can get, as lavish as it can get. You just need to dream it, and you need to have action plans to make sure that you get it, and you'll get it. And that's it. So I say dream big dreams, and have action plans as to how you're going to get there. I like to have timelines. They sometimes move around, but I like to sort of have timelines and revisit those goals, whether it's a vision board, whether you're writing them down. And now more than anything is I think I've learned to breathe. I now have rituals that I do. Monday mornings are generally for walks. For me, first thing Monday morning, I am trying to meditate. I am taking my dog. If I'm at home, I'm taking my dog on a leash, and we are taking that walk. I've got music in my ears, and we are taking those walks because I've learned to also breathe through the noise. And I found that that is some of my meditative things that I like to do. But also it's things that I used to dream about. Like when I was in corporate, I remember how hectic Mondays were. And I thought, when I leave corporate and I'm self-employed, I'm going to convert Mondays into the most gentlest days. Even when my business grows and I've got 200 staff members, I need to make sure that I don't give people the pressure of Mondays. Therefore, I am learning to breathe through Mondays. So Mondays are for walks. I pick roses from my garden for my vase on Mondays. So Mondays are so little hacks like that. Breathe, find your rituals, hug that tree. Today I was hugging a tree because I was feeling very stressed. But go back to the drawing board, make sure you know your goals. What are they? If they are big goals, how do you get there? And network and collaborate. Oh my gosh, call on your people and collaborate. I hope that's a hack.
It is. It definitely spoke to me because what you mentioned in terms of, having these rituals, to make you feel good or to regulate your nervous system.
Mm,
I've been trying to do it more often, like hiking a tree, like being grounded by walking barefoot, having your feet feel the soil, feel the sand, um, being out in hiking, being out in nature, breathing in. These are things that I've been trying to do. I haven't been consistent at all. So you definitely poured into me, especially about the life hack. Yeah, you definitely spoke to me. So thank you
thank
for that. I know
you.
a lot of listeners will also agree.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You've poured into me. You've equally poured into me. I was feeling very nervous, thinking I need to, prepare, but it's really nice to reflect on a lot of things that I know, but to say them out loud, and to remember like little things. Like I don't think I've ever told anybody, not that I've ever told anybody, but even the conversation about the burger, like it's very personal, and I know how sometimes it feels like it hurts me to not be able to give little things like that. But then I remember why I do it. So you've also made me feel good, and I can't wait to re-listen to this and hear what I sound like in a raw state, because I think I came a little bit raw to this conversation. I thought, let me give Ronlin, and be honest about the business, about parenting, single parenting or co-parenting or whatever, and still trying to be a big dreamer. So yeah, you
Mhm.
put it into me. Thank you for the space. Thank you.
Thank you. And a lot of us can resonate with it. I mean, about the burger, about, feeling like, we are being a burden on our kids for choosing or for making the choices that we make. Parenting is not perfect. There's no perfect guide to parenting. We're all just learning along the way, and our kids are also going to learn along the way. A previous conversation that I had, I think it's the episode before this where we are speaking about the fact that our kids are going to have certain traumas or certain triggers which we cannot control, just like with us. And there's certain things that they are going to want to keep and carry forth, and certain things that they're not going to. It's just part of the evolution, it's part of growing, it's part of breaking generational curses, creating generational wealth, whether it's monetizing or whether it's emotional, physical, whichever aspect. But it's all about growing as individuals. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's just about trying to figure out our purpose and why we were brought here, why God created us, and trying to fulfill that the best way we know how. Because we're teaching our kids to do the same in their own capacity.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy journey, but we will do it.
We are doing it. We are
Yes,
doing it.
we are doing it. We are doing, yes. The wrong tense I used. We are
We
doing
are
it.
doing it.
Um,
Yeah.
that idea was planted in us for a reason, and it's up to us whether we want to action it or not. But always remember the world that we live in and be realistic about it. So we need to have a plan in how we're going to go about this life thing, and how important it is for one to experience. May we curate intentional experiences in our life.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Pepe Pepe. Thank you. Yeah. We just need to be you
It's
know,
a
you
pity
know,
our
you know.
voices are just, yes, our voices are
Thank
going,
you
but
so
yes,
much.
ours are gonna
Thank
yes,
you so
yes.
much. Thank you so much. And I'm equally proud of you. You know, I'm proud of you and for a voice that you have chosen and a
Mm,
platform that you are having and the topics that you've brought forward, you know, and I suppose to be bold enough to take the step or take the seat because you've taken a seat and taken a mic, you know. So I am equally proud of you. So may you also be equally blessed with all that you plan for yourself. I mean, I've known you a little bit. I've met you
mm,
along the way in the path of life. So yeah,
mm,
when I got this invite, I thought, look at you, God, you know, how things work.
mm,
And sometimes, and I say this all the time, like sometimes you meet people many, many years ago and then you get to meet them again 10 years later, whatever their purpose are, but we're all meant to connect. When we connect, we're meant to connect. So I guess we were meant to connect now to have this conversation, you know, because you inspire me. I'm hoping I left something with you. So thank you just as
and you
much.
definitely left a lot. You left
Yeah,
a
thank
lot
you so
with me. You definitely
much.
left a lot. And yes, we don't meet people by accident. I also believe that, um, in life, everything happens for a reason. Sometimes it's quite painful, but in terms of the people that we meet, it's definitely for a reason, for a purpose. And yeah, today was evidence of our purpose of meeting.
Yes, yes.
You're welcome. Thank you to the listeners for listening to this episode of Intent. Are there any last words, Theo, before I officially wrap it up?
My last words are, I mean, I thought I'm supposed to be dropping a quote or something, but no
No,
quote.
no.
The only thing I want to
Whatever
say
comes to
is,
mind.
the only thing I want to say, guys, is, I suppose is, like I said, my life changed a lot during COVID, but you only have one chance to live this life, right? I mean, you wake up every day, but you have one chance to, I mean, I walk around with purple hair, right? So be all that you want to be, like express yourself however, just don't harm anyone in the process, but express
Mm,
yourself however you want to. If you want to chase those dreams, chase them wildly. You know, if you want to eat that burger, eat it, but do whatever you need to do. You know, be as brave as you can so that if you ever want a chance to go back, and e.g., if you wanted to go back to corporate, then you still have a chance, but you know exactly why chased those dreams, why you lived in that moment, why you took that breath, why you booked that flight, you know, why you went on that
Mm-hmm.
cruise. So live your life as wildly and as beautifully as you can, so that even when your children look at you, they're like, but I know this life because I saw my mom live it like this, you know. So I have
Mm-hmm.
here that children do what they see, not what they hear. So if you want your child to be happy, be happy. If you want your child to be expressive, be expressive. If you want to surround yourself with people that are passionate, be passionate. If you want to, you know, so live widely, live wildly. Yeah.
Mm. Thank you so much, Theo. And again,
Thank
thank you to the
you.
listeners. You're welcome. Thank you to the
Bye.
listeners for listening to this episode of Intent. Until next time, let's keep living with intent. Bye.
Yes. Bye. Thank you.
Okay.